I want to invite up now our youth panel. This morning, one of the great pleasures that I've been waiting all 2 days for is the youth panel. So we'll welcome up our youth panel, who is Zoe Okliasek, yes. Brittany Woods Orson, Rodney Evans, Terrelyn Chesley, Equalis David, and Royal Kelly. And this panel will be moderated by Michaela Stith.
Here comes E-Class. Well, as we all know, in a just transition, we're dealing with many different interrelated crises. We're dealing with climate change, with persistent homophobia and racism that's systematic. We're dealing with, I don't know, I can't list all of them. And one thing that we also know is that things are going to get worse before they get better. We're trying to make it better, but it's going to get harder. And I think that's one reason why it's so crucial that we are centering youth voices, because they are going to be the most impacted as we go into the future. And not only that youth are being leaders right now, these people are all doing incredible advocacy and activism, and so I'm really excited for you to hear more from them. So we just like to start out this panel by asking each of these folks to introduce yourselves for about 5 minutes, including the work that you're doing, your passions and interests related to a just transition. We just want to get to know you a little more. So can we start over on here and move down the line? Thanks.
Brittany Woods Orson, Sauza, Dlethtonitz, Lesto, Fairbanks, Eslan, Lower Tanana, Dene Lands. I had the amazing experience of being able to grow up in my village of Rampart for the first years of my life, and the school shut down when I was meant to begin my education, so we had to move to the city. So I am both a village baby and city kid. And I, from a young age, immediately grew so much love in getting to know people and learn about people. And Fairbanks is a community with a lot of indigenous people and people from different walks of life. For my high school experience, I went to Mount Edgecombe, which deepened that love for our state and learning about my people and loving the Southeast, and becoming a little adult, taking on a lot of responsibilities and being passionate about giving back to my people. By the time I graduated, I knew I either wanted a psychology degree or business degree, because I saw those as the pathways to myself to either create a business we needed or bring services that we needed. And my education took me farther in going to college in California in the Bay Area. It was extremely challenging financially, physically, mentally, spiritually. I struggled. It was an uphill battle being one of the only Native students, being the only Alaska Native. And I found my people by connecting with those from all over the world. I became friends with Laotians, Peruvians, Palestinians, and I learned we all had a shared story. And in that time too, being a psychology major, I wanted to learn about my people, so I took advantage of all these writing assignments to learn what indigenous people were doing and see what I can bring back. And that's when I learned kind of the true history of Alaska and went through that very isolating, difficult experience, and finally connecting the dots. Because as a young child, when I seen what was in our community with substance abuse or violence, or wondering why I didn't know my language growing up, I finally seen the holistic picture of how these are all connected. Because even as a young child, I seen my family that had their culture, that had the subsistence, they were healthier. And so I knew that as a young age, and it was so many decades to understand all the moving parts. So I was down in the Bay Area, and after that, for 2 years, I took the time to be unemployed and drive around to my friends and visit with the goal of learning about the land and learning about the people and deepening my relationships. And in that time, that's when I was hired for the role as broadband specialist for Native Movement and ACPERG, and it was such divine timing, and I feel so guided by my ancestors and the universe, because while I focus on the internet, it allows me to touch on so many different aspects of what is happening in Alaska and what I want to create solutions for. For example, the first time I ever heard my Denakanaga language spoken fluently was on Zoom while I was living in California. And I dream of creating new economies and allowing Alaskans to live wherever they want while accessing the resources. And also I want to say too, going back and reflecting on how did I get here? Why have I been able to move in life the way I did? My grandparents helped raise me along with my great-grandparents and a lot of my different family members. So from a young age, I moved in the world full of love and confidence and was able to see the most potential and believe in the most potential and be able to handle a lot of trauma and hardships because I knew there was something on the other side. And so to start with, or to leave everyone with, I believe every thought we have, every action, every intention will have an impact. And so the way we move is so important in this work. And I'm excited to hear from everyone else.
Hello, OCO. I'm, that's how you say hello in Cherokee, which I am. I grew up in North Carolina for most of my life until I was 15 when I moved to Anchorage, Alaska. And being from a place that had colonization come so many hundreds of years ago, I grew up with an oral history that my great-grandparents were 100% Native, whatever that means, and were growing up with their traditions and learning the ways that the Cherokee lived. But they felt a pressure by colonialism to make our bloodline more mixed race. And I remember being 8 or 9 and asking my mom, "Why am I mixed?" And she goes, "Well, that's what our ancestors decided for you." And it was really hard to think about being in a world where my ancestors were forced to think that that was the best option for us. So that way we could be awarded the ability to propel ourselves through the white economic structure and be able to rise in power in some way. When I moved to Alaska, I fell in love with this place. I fell in love with the history, with the peoples, with how everything is so connected to the land at all times. And that was something I had never experienced in the lower 48. And it was something that I was I could feel it in my bones that this is how I was supposed to be living, that this is my history, as in a sense of we are all one, and it is my duty as another Native person to help people who have that ability, who still have their elders who remember exactly how they used to live, still around for however much more time they are around, to be able to bring it back and let it flourish. I moved back up here after being away for a year in Virginia when I was 19 years old, and I became homeless. I had had a pretty well-to-do life, pretty affluent white family that I came from, it was the first time that I had experienced real struggle on my own without my parents to fall back on. And it was no choice of mine, plans fell through and I was just found myself on the street. And I saw how many of the people were older Native people and how much they cared for me and made sure I was safe and taken care of and fed. And I was like, that day I felt a passion be born in me that as a homeless person, I was not going to sit on the sidelines and let us be steamrolled by how the world is supposed to work. And I had this opportunity come to me to create something called a youth action board, and create new and exciting ways of combating homelessness and being able to bring people back in and get them to where they want to be housed and how they want to be housed. And I jumped at that opportunity, and that was 7 years ago. I have been doing this for 7 years, and every day I wake up and I go, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my passion, this is my spirit, this is who I am. I always knew growing up with a mother who was a teacher that I would be working with youth in some way, and I just didn't know until I was a much older youth that it was in a way that was going to be transformative and inspiring and I just know that I wanted to be the voice for those who feel like they're voiceless. And if that's all I can be, then I've done my job, and I can, whenever I pass on, I can feel like I did the right thing.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rodney Evans. I am Koyukon Dene, Inupiaq, and Gwich'in. I am also from the village of Dlechtanits, also known as Rampart, Alaska, on the Middle Yukon River. We are Caribou Clan Koyukon. We are Bitsi Te Hutan, and we're a strong matriarchal culture that values being stewards of the land, protecting culture, protecting our stories, and honoring all things that have given us life. And all of those values I was raised around are all reflected in my work. I work as a filmmaker and a photographer now, and my work in media is rooted in Indigenous storytelling, climate justice, social justice, and protecting and sharing our ways of life. I'm also a member of the 4th cohort of the Arctic Youth Ambassadors, and that's been a great program that's given me and so many other youth around Alaska the chance to go to different conferences, go to places, other countries like Iceland, and share our perspectives as youth, as Indigenous youth. And I am also Brittany's cousin and grew up very similarly being raised in Rampart, but I think it was around the 90s the school in Rampart closed down because there weren't enough kids there. I think the baseline was 12 or 15 kids to keep the school open. And Rampart's a small village. Right now, we are bigger than we've been in recent years. We have about 40 or 50 people. But I remember times where that got down to single-digit numbers living in Rampart. And so I wasn't given the chance to go to school in Rampart, and I had to move to the city to go to school. And so I grew up somewhat disconnected from my culture, and growing up I've realized so much of my healing has come from reconnecting with that culture, learning Danaka again little by little. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, that's me.
Chmai wi anajanak shali algiliak shalista shali Terlin Kachawik mi shalianga. Hello, my name is Terlin Chesley. My native names are Anajnak and Agiliak Shalista. I live in Anchorage currently, but I am from Bristol Bay, specifically representing Port Hayden, Dillingham, and Clark's Point. Let's go, woo! But growing up as a mixed Indigenous person, it's hard. It's really hard. And having systemic racism kind of eat at you. I currently am a senior in high school. I go to East High, King Tech, and Stellar Secondary. But when I was going through my years of high school, I dealt with a lot of racism, especially because the school I predominantly went to was all high-income white people, and they just did not understand my Indigenous ways of life. They would tell me straight up to my face and argue with me that I'm not Native. And I was like, how do you know my ways of living? How have you witnessed how I've lived and how I've grown in my community? You don't know. You haven't grown in that culture. And so ever since then, I have been really trying to help cultural revitalization in my communities. Specifically last year, at that predominantly white high school I went to, I taught an Indigenous values class. Each week, we did opening circle and closing circle. And we talked about our values. We did Indigenous word of the day. And it was an amazing experience to be able to teach my community. This year, I was the Indigenous MC for ASD's K-12 fashion show. It was an amazing experience, and it was great to be around youth. And I have been doing a lot of work when it comes to food justice, especially in our state. I feel like tribal governance over subsistence should be our priority. And a lot of places do not understand that we need that. I'm not gonna name names, but I was having a legislative meeting and I was with this senator and I told him that. I was like, we need governance over our subsistence. And he literally told me, no, everyone deserves the right to subsist. I was like, you're not understanding what I'm saying here, man. But it was really scary to hear someone that represents our community doing that. I also have been really passionate about getting traditional language implemented in schools. I feel like it should be mandatory. Same with sex education within our system. It is awful, the rates and statistics we have in our community. We have the highest STD rates in the entire nation. That should not be a thing. And we need just better and safer ways of knowing. Domestic violence rates are crazy wild here, and we need to stop that. Circling back to our food, we need to make sure that we're putting subsistence back into our bodies. America's processed foods, let's talk about that for a second. We are putting literal poison into our bodies, and it is not good for us. And we know as a Native people that subsistence is what works, but we can't do that year-round anymore. And that's really scary with this changing climate, that we cannot subsist and save our communities. But yeah, anyways, Koyana so much, guys.
Uvanga ataga manik sitnasaga muguranga sichinik muguranga akaga Denise Oliver apaga Franklin O'Clesic Jr. or Buddy atataga Franklin O'Clesic Sr. Aussie Kurt Oliver anaga Lavano O'Clesic Aussie Carol or Oxy Oliver. Hello everyone, my name is Zoe O'Clesic. My Nubyak names are Manik and Awilik. I come from Nome in Galvin, Alaska. My parents are Buddy O'Clesick and the late Denise Oliver. My grandparents on my mother's side are Carol Oliver and Kurt Oliver of Golovin, and my grandparents on my father's side are the late Levon O'Clesick and the late Franklin O'Clesick Sr. Of Teller. When I was thinking about what to say in my introduction, this can go anywhere because I feel like I've dipped my toes in a lot of things, just trying to understand our ways of life and understand how I could help our people in the best ways. But the first thing that came to mind was sharing a story of the first time I cut a fish. In my regional breakout group, I shared the first time I filled my berry bucket, which I will say is my proudest accomplishment. But I remember when I was younger, I used to spend my summers in Golovin with my mom and all my aunties and my grandmas. And we had a fish camp called Camp Chicavik, Camp Fish Camp, which is kind of funny. But I just remember I was a young girl, I think I was 5 or 6, and just watching all my aunties cut fish and all my older cousins cutting fish, and I was so jealous. I was like, I want to learn how, but as Indigenous people, we know we learn by watching. And so I would just watch my older sister, and when she was done, I got to take her little cut fish and rinse it in the river and then put it in the bucket to be taken up to our fish rack. And then I remember it was my turn to finally learn how to cut a fish, and I was so excited. We got the little white fish that we kept, and that's what all the young kids practiced with. And I was so excited, and I did all the steps backwards. It sure made my mom laugh, and everyone laughed, but I was just happy I had my little fish scraps. But when I think of a just transition, I think of our children being able to fill their berry buckets up and cut fish. Unfortunately, due to Typhoon Merbok, it's kind of hard for me to say, my fish camp got completely destroyed. It went a mile down the river, and it was upside down and filled with lots of tundra and grass. And so we want to rebuild that, and hopefully, with our work, the fish will return. As many of you know, too, our fish haven't been returning to up in western Alaska. But something I've noticed, too, though, is that when our fish aren't returning, our berries are super full. And so our earth is still staying in harmony with itself. And so I've been trying to learn more about plant medicine from my older sister and my aunties. I'm hoping to make it home to Golovin this summer. But all this to say, I do a lot of work. I'm an Arctic Youth Ambassador, as Rodney explained. I think he explained it really well, so I'm not going to reiterate that. A lot of my work is uplifting youth voices. As Michaela pointed out, a lot of these issues are going to impact us the hardest as we become older adults. I'm 20. And so it's super important that our voices and our perspectives get shown. I think this space does a really good job. We're not talking about how to do youth engagement. We're talking about problems we actually are facing and our perspectives on it, which I think is super important. But like I said, like in other spaces where it's not as normalized, we bring fresh ideas and fresh perspectives, and of course I always want to learn from my elders, and I've been trying to be a sponge and just taking all the information I can from all the elders here. Thank you all for sharing, Quiana. I was going to say one more thing. Right now I'm working on an EU-funded project called Youth Together for Arctic Futures, and it's a space to give youth who are typically not in these spaces the tools and the resources and the connections to feel like they can come on a stage, come on a panel, give a keynote to mostly legislators. And so, yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Douglas. Debed. I'm a student at the University of Alaska Anchorage. I study political science with a minor in history, hoping to go to law school in the following fall. I was born in Ethiopia, in the Somali region, between Chichiga and Addis Ababa. I'm ethnically Somali. My parents moved. They originally were from Ethiopia, the Somali region, but in the 1977 war, they moved back to Somalia. And during the Somali Civil War, they moved back to Ethiopia. So it's kind of a lot of migrating back and forth because regional conflicts. But I moved to Anchorage, Alaska, which I currently reside in 2012 when I was 7 years old. And that has been home for me ever since. Some of the issues I care about is mostly like foreign policy and immigration. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were like this, why don't people just stay in their homeland and make it better for themselves instead of like illegally migrating here or like legally migrating? And just having the opportunity to change someone's mind on those issues and how they view like immigration and other things. And as many people have this perception that it's very easy for them to just cross the border, but it is a long, I wouldn't know, but it's a long road for many people, very dangerous as well. I want to study foreign policy, and I want to do international law and human rights law, because growing up, I would see there's a lot of the military, the Ethiopian military and the Somali military as well in the Somali region. They have this power trip over the people. And I went back home the summer of 2022, where I was so used to the United States, where you do have rights, and some countries, it's like whatever the officer says. There's a lot of corruption there. So I would like get into fights with them a lot, and like they were threatening to shoot me and other things, but thankfully none of that happened. Just like seeing how they mistreat the people and like women issues also. I met this 17-year-old girl who had like 3 babies already, and she invited me in. She was married to an older man from the United States or Europe. I don't quite remember, but just like hearing her story of like how she was a young girl, she has so many hope and dreams, and just the place of birth that she was born in can drastically change, or if you have the opportunity to migrate to another place. But she was just telling me about her life journey and how she ended up in that position. And for many women in my family, I take my education very seriously, because a lot of women in my family never had the chance to have formal education and develop those hopes and dreams that they had as little girls. And seeing like older women, there's a lot of factors that play into it, like the Civil War and moving and how to taking care of their families. But having to like read for older women because they never got the chance to be literate. So I'm very passionate about literacy, and I read a quote pretty recently. I'm not quite sure how it went, but it said, read enough that it serves you, not just to be literate, but read enough that it serves you, that you actually benefit from reading. And that's just a little bit of the reason I do want to go to law school is people are like, you better get into a really good law school if you want to do human rights and international law, because it's very elitist area. But the Department of State is not my thing, so I'm not going that route. No criticism to anyone that is in the Department of State in here. But that's just a little bit about me. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Let's give a big Hello? Oh, you can't hear me. Can we give another big thank you to this group? It is really not easy to come up on stage in front of 300 people and talk about your personal experiences. And you were all very honest and vulnerable, and we really, really appreciate that. Some of the issues you all touched on are really challenging, right? Like, I don't have to recap it. We were all here. The question I want to ask, because one of the themes of this conference is healing from colonization in order to remember forward, what does healing look like for you all in your work or in your communities? And anyone can take it away to start.
Do you want to go first?
Healing for me was a huge trajectory change in my life, as I had said, when I had begun learning about our history and learning about what had happened to us and taking the time to sit with it and feel it and move through it. I take care of myself so well, and in that moment too, I had the severe realization that I'm not supposed to be here at a generational place, and also in my life, there have been so many times, and there still will be times when I cannot be here, or the odds are against me, the statistics are against me. And when I realized that, I kind of flipped the switch and started telling people like, oh, I'm gonna be a menace now. Like, you didn't want me here. I'm just gonna be louder. I'm gonna dress more vibrantly. I'm gonna be funnier and enjoy my life thoroughly. And when I was on this journey with other people, it was so beautiful to learn about how connected we are to the land and what we share, and how we see our foods and our relations, and going on and taking the time to go on this journey before starting my career. And because during that journey, I promised myself I don't want to start a career until it's serving my community. And so I really bet on myself, and I really leaned into my community. I'm pretty independent, and I move and travel a lot, but it's always with people, to people, for people. And with these long-term visions. And now I'm at this point in my life where I really love it. I'm beyond grateful for the work I do. I'm beyond grateful for the projects I have, and who I get to sit with, and who I share space with, and the knowledge I'm given. And I plan very long-term. As I said, as I'm in the internet world, I am doing this work so passionately because I want to secure a job for myself in the future, and I want to secure people having education wherever they want in Alaska in the future. And so I really want to advocate for experiencing joy. This world is so painful and horrifying, and we can see what's happening, and we can think about what can we do. We can think global and act local. And so I really, with experiencing healing, it has been able to allow me to live fully. It has allowed me to live creatively, and think about solutions long term. And it's really interesting how I work on so many different issues, and I do so many different hobbies and pastimes, but it allows me to still go for the mission and the vision I have. I'm an athlete, and I do modeling as well, and in that work, I've been able to connect to Indigenous people from around the world, and I tell people we're going to bring back the trade routes, and this light in the eye I experience with people when I meet through all these different events and experiences. I'm planting seeds for a really long time, and I'm excited for what we will experience and what we'll be able to accomplish knowing one another, and what our kids will be able to. So healing is so beautiful, and we deserve to create that space for ourselves to do the work we need to create solutions for what's outside of that.
As I said, I'm from Ethiopia, and it's one of the only African countries that never got colonized. But my parents and my ancestry have heritage in Somalia as well. And there was like Italian Somaliland and British Somaliland, and there was the French Somaliland, which is currently Djibouti, that borders Eritrea in Ethiopia and Somalia. And like just people in my community don't like talking about that era. And a lot of these elderly, and they would, one thing I do like is they refuse to speak Italian or like French. So that's one thing, but is a time period where they don't talk about it, and people like to pretend that colonialism was so long ago. But my father was born he's old, but like he was born in 1952, and Somalia gained their independence like years later. So in his early childhood, he grew up in colonized Somalia, and he doesn't really tell us the stories of what he witnessed, but just having that opportunity to talk about those stories could be very healing to them. But one other thing is like how I heal from it is just making sure that I remember the history, like accurately and correctly, that I remember the history of my people and what they faced during colonialism, and that history is not rewritten for us. Because in Alaska, one of the projects I did was an Alaska Studies curriculum reform, and to have a comprehensive curriculum that includes like indigenous knowledge and history. And we would also include elders from the community to come talk in the classrooms. So just seeing in the United States how history is like constantly being rewritten to fit a white-centric view of the world, it's very upsetting. So for me, I make sure my community, and just the reason I have a minor in history is because I just want to see what they're teaching in the history classes at UA. Because when I first took history of the United States, there was this girl that was sitting in the same row as me, and she said, which I was like very shy and quiet back then. I started going to UA when I was 16 through the Alaska Middle College program. So that's where I graduated from for high school. But she said Africa was better when it was colonized because look at them now. And the professor like kind of just brushed it off instead of like calling out that student and actually explaining what the long history behind it. And just after hearing that, I was like, what are they teaching in other classes? And are there professors that actually correct students who have like these negative views of the world? But we're also Americans, so we do have like very individualized views of the world, and we are like, I see Americans at airports and they just expect everyone to speak English, which is hilarious to me. But that's just a little bit about like how healing, like I use storytelling as a way to heal. So people, I'm able like to talk about it, as well as people are able to listen to me, be able to talk about those stories. But after that thing that girl said never left my mind, because as we see it, like I'm very interested in foreign policy, and as we know, the United States like organized coups to overthrow democratically elected officials all the time. So if we were to have like a socialist leader that naturalized their oil reserves or anything else, the United States, if it does not serve Western imperialist views, they are going to take direct action or indirect action to make sure the next leader they put in power aligns with American ideas and ideologies. So just colonization in America, we like to think about it in like so far off time of our lives. But it's just making sure that we all know that there's people still alive that went through colonialism and witnessed these horrific crimes and war crimes being committed against them is something that we just all need to take some time and like think about it. Even like in the United States, like the Civil War and other things, everything, they tried to make it like it was distant enough that we don't have to worry about it. But those issues are still impacting us, and it's important for us to continuously think about looking forward and how we can still remember the past while actively changing the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll take a couple more answers to this question, and I also want to ask folks from the audience to ask any questions that you're curious about. There's 2 microphones in these aisles, so please do come up and stand in line to ask a question. Go ahead.
As Native people, laughter is medicine. I feel like that's a really big way for us to heal. You ever had an auntie like hold you hostage for like 6 hours in her house? Like when you're supposed to just be grabbing some clothes or something? Happens all the time. But I feel like it's really hard to remember that laughter, we need it. We need it to heal because there is so much generational trauma that we're going through as a people and that we're still going through. For example, like a big way for us to heal back with ourselves is our language. Being from Bristol Bay, I am a part of a community that has had a lot of our culture stripped away from the Russian missionaries who came and brought the Russian Orthodox religion with them. And we still see Russian Orthodox being one of the main religions for Native people here in Alaska. That's scary that we don't have that cultural religion that we can hold on to. And although so much of my family is Russian Orthodox, I can still, there is some ties there, but I wish we had our cultural ways of knowing, our religion. And a big way we can do that is bringing back language, bringing back our songs and dances, being Sukpiak, and having most of my family also be Yupik. I'm the only non-Yupik one, same with my mom. I'm not jealous about that. But a lot of the Yupik people have gifted us our songs and dances back. And that is so beautiful, so we can heal and have those wounds be mended. I also feel like storytelling, whether it's through creativity, living on the land, being with elders, I can't tell you how healing it is to be with elders. You know, they can tell you the same story 6 times. I'll still sit and listen because each time you may be gaining a different lesson from that story. And that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. I know that wearing our regalia and our clothing is so amazing, and knowing how to make that clothing as well. I've been making kuspuks a lot recently and carving, and that's been so nice to be brought back into my community in that way. Also, just I feel like, especially with this changing climate, that we are not able to connect with the land as much as we once were. And as Native people, we need the land to heal. We need to be there. And we need to advocate that we need this land, because colonialism is still going on. Whether we want to deny it or not, it is still going on. They are still taking our lands away from us, and we need our lands back. Mm-hmm. They do not get to take away what is ours and what has traditionally been ours for centuries. and it is not okay, and it's hard to go through as a people. But if we band together, we have many different issues across this state. There's no doubt in that. But if we band together to get our land back, our culture back, our language back, we could do so many beautiful things. Imagine a future where everyone is speaking their native language. How beautiful would that be? It'd be so beautiful, and everyone would cherish that. I feel like Alaska needs to get on that Hawaii game with having traditional language even on roads. Roads are their traditional words. We need to get that in here, get that in that state. But yeah, I feel like that's a really big way for us to heal, and having our food as well. There's a program that the Native Hospital is doing right now in Anchorage of bringing back cultural foods to the elders so they're able to have them. And there has been elders who have cried because they've missed home so much. And it doesn't matter what ties you to your community. It could be food, it could be a scent, it could be a laugh, it could be a story. But all of it's important, and all of it should be cherished. Koyana.
I'll try to be quick because I know we're trying to get to questions. But when I think back on my childhood, I used to be a really angry kid. I was angry for my mother passing away at a young age. I was angry at my grandfather for not teaching us the songs he knew. I was angry that it felt like the rest of the U.S. and the rest of the world, it felt in my little head that they weren't caring for climate change. And I knew what it was at a young age. I remember the sea ice melting at a faster rate than it used to, and our winters being harsher, and our summers being hotter. But when I was in high school, I sat down and I was like, why am I angry? This isn't fair on my grandfather. He was a residential school survivor. My mother had a lot of trauma and dealt with it in the wrong ways, but that wasn't her fault. And so I just sat down with myself and I was like, what am I doing? I'm just being angry and that's not getting anything done. And I remembered my mother used to work at the Nome Emergency Shelter Team, which helps with our homeless people in Nome, and how kind she was to everybody, always. It didn't matter who they were, where they came from. She always welcomed them in our home, and she always gave everyone a hug and tried to reach out to as many people as possible. And so when I'm doing this work, I try to remember to be kind, and I try to remember that it's okay to be angry, but that shouldn't be the only emotion I'm feeling. And so I feel like learning, too, was a really big way that I learned to heal. And so that's something I've just been trying to still learn, is that I shouldn't be angry all the time, but it's okay, though, too, sometimes.
Just channel that anger. All right, so we are getting toward the end of the panel, and no one is standing up. Okay, go ahead.
Hafa edai, ina anu sira kota kamatsu dinani man matau na tautau I za lagwas. Zamalagu na sumangani hamzu na miga moasi. Miga moasi nu hokutut na un fakahudung I za hami. Miga moasi nu minan halam mizu. Miga moasi nu I minyanan mizu. Sa kulan Golf Matgas hamzu. My name is Dakota Kamatsu, and I'm from the islands of Lagwas. And I'm just thanking you in my language for your wisdom, for your wisdom and everything that you're sharing with us. And I'm also basically said you guys are badass. But I would like to know more. It's important to me to know more how people, particularly people who might be a little older than you or a lot older than you, can support and back your leadership. I'm wondering what you would want us to know about how we can support you and what you're doing in the world.
In my work as a homeless advocate, we're asked a lot just that exact question. How can older folks best support us, and like how does authentic youth engagement look like? If we're gonna use the white people words for it. Basically what I would say is, how do I say this nicely? You know what, screw saying it nicely. Shut up sometimes when we're talking. There's a lot of times where a young person will share their experience and say, this is what I'm experiencing, this is how I'm feeling, and I'm so angry, and I'm so like righteously angry, and I have this passion and this fire in me, and I need to do something with it. And we get told, settle down, quiet down, like don't rock the boat. We're here to rock the boat. We're here to make the boat spill over. And the best way to support us is to let us rock the boat and to go with it, to throw your weight just as much as we're throwing ours. There's something so powerful as a young person to hear an older person say, no, I want to hear what you have to say. The fact that we can be up here and have 300 people sit attentively and listen to what we're saying with such regard and what's the word I'm looking for? Respect for our knowledge is so empowering for me, and I hope it's empowering for all of you, that we're really doing the work, and it's so important that, one, you asked that question, so thank you for asking the question of how to be a better ally to us. And just so quick points, be quiet when we're speaking, throw your weight just as much as we are, and uplift the youth in your communities who are doing the work, because if you don't, we will become bitter and disregard everything that we stand for and not do anything to help anyone ever again. And trust us, you don't want us to be like that.
Can I add something to that? I think so I'm an art youth ambassador, as Rodney mentioned as well. Something that our program managers, what would you call them? Coordinators, program coordinators do, is they meet with people before they bring them to us, so they make sure we're protected and we're not being tokenized, and I think that's something that's so important. So just continue to protect us, and that's it.
I also want to add, too, that you also need to remember we are still youth. We're still figuring things out. We still want to have fun. We still want to laugh together. And really give youth the space to be youth, give them the space to be with each other. And that's because all of our ideas, all of our drive to make a more equitable, sustainable future, all of that is really important. Our youth, we are the just transition.
Hell yeah.
Mentorship, a lot of people have brought me along with them to spaces and let me sneak into places and explained how things work, and so I try to do that as well. There's an abundance of opportunities. We need to share what we are offered and bring people along with us. Those are my two big things: abundance of opportunities and mentorship.
Okay, for our closing question. Yes, we have some.
Yes, I would like to speak. My name is Constance Maison. Our ancestors before us will hear us. Currently, our Alaska Native Brotherhood and Sisterhood has changed dramatically. And back in the past, it was open for all our people. The Alaska Native Brotherhood and Sisterhood has created the council members, the health program, everything. And for our subsistence rights and everything, it seems to be vanishing. And our seaweed and kelp that the state is taking is preventing our fish and our wildlife to come our way. We need to put a stop to the state to whom is taking this. And we don't need fish farms or hatcheries. What's wild remains wild. That's the way it should be. And we need our doors open to the Alaska Native Brotherhood and Sisterhood for our next generations to come. Our ancestors have fought for their grandchildren, their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren to come. I am the grandchild that they fought for. Now that I am a grandparent, it's our turn to put up the fight. Our culture, our language, our songs and dances belong to us, as well as the lands and the waters. The waters and the lands need to be cleaned up. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, this is my first time attending the Just Transition Summit, and I'm really honored to be a part of it, and I've heard so many great things. And when I was thinking about what a just transition means to me, I really do believe that we can't achieve a just transition without land back and without allowing the indigenous people to steward their own lands and modeling our way forward off of their communities. When the land hurts, our people hurt too, and that goes the other way. When our people are hurting, the land will start to hurt as well. And the only way that we can heal as a people, we could heal our land, is by allowing the indigenous people who have stewarded it since time immemorial to be able to steward their lands again, to be able to manage their lands and their subsistence rights. In Rampart, we are a fishing village, but we haven't been able to fish for king salmon or chum salmon, any of the salmon in the Yukon River for years now, since 2018. And Rampart also, we are Caribou Clan Koyukon, and we used to have a caribou herd that would cross the river right where Rampart is at. And due to development, we haven't seen those caribou in generations. They haven't been around Rampart for generations. So we've seen so much change, so much hurt to our land. And if we want to heal, we need to allow our indigenous people to take care of their land themselves again.
Period. Does anyone else want to share some closing reflections related to this?
So I'm also someone who is experiencing the just transition for the first time, and I was doing history research more last night because I've been really feeling things, and I saw that one of the things that is taught in the framework is social equity, which is a really big thing to me in my work. But something I do to make whiter folks more comfortable with me. If you can't tell, I'm physically disabled, and I'm visually physically disabled, and I make jokes about it to make people uncomfortable. And while I've been here at the summit, I have not made a single joke unless it's to one of my really close friends or my wife, because I haven't felt the need to have that label. I've just been me, and what just transition means to me is a future where we can just be us, and that's it.
Time for one more closing reflection.
we're fighting. We're fighting up here.
It's polite wars.
Those that are closest to the problems are closest to the solutions. Our rivers tie us together. Our animals tie us together. Our love ties us together. What brings me the most hope is being in a room of all of us, and when we come to the table and we build the table together and we share what foods we do have. And I've been telling people my favorite thing about this conference is asking everyone what the dream is, what the vision is. I want to share mine and I want to share yours, and what does that look like together? Because if I can't see it, if I can't imagine it, I can't work towards that. And my friend told me, actually, we don't work towards our vision. We work from our vision, and we live in our vision. And so please share your most beautiful ideas. Please share what you know is possible so we all know it's possible. And let's work together against the powers that don't want us to thrive and don't want us to do it, because we can, and there is enough abundance, and there is plentifulness of us to do this work.
Yes. Does anyone else have goosebumps? I just want to thank you all again so much. It's been wonderful to listen to you. It's such a beautiful panel. Another big round of applause. Thank you.